guys, welcome back to my channel. So if y'all are new here, my name is Emma and I am a second year 5th grade teacher, and today is the last day of classroom setup. So I thought for today's video I would take you along with me to make a bunch of DIY projects for my classroom featuring my Cricut. I'm going to make some stuff for some bulletin boards, some stuff for the walls. I'm going to make a banner like these behind me. I'm going to decorate it to hang it in my classroom, and I'm just going to take you guys through all these things with me so you can do these in your classroom too. So let's get started. So first thing I had to do before I started all of my projects was measure the big bulletin board in my room that I was going to put the letters on. So here I am with my ruler just after school one day on the way out measuring, and I figured out it's about 7 feet, and so that's going to help me set up my settings in my Cricut. So since I'm doing bulletin board letters, I wanted to make sure I laminated my paper before I started. This is actually super thick cardstock, and even by laminating it, the Cricut can easily cut through to cut out letters for my bulletin board. So here I am just sticking it through my laminator. This laminator is from Amazon. It's super cheap and it works super well. So today I'm just going to be showing you how to cut laminated cardstock and heat transfer vinyl or iron-on vinyl with your Cricut, but the Cricut can actually cut over 100 materials, and there's so many projects you can do with your classroom. So first thing I'm doing is typing in the words that I want. So I know I want a science side and a math side to my big bulletin board, and I am actually looking at all the fonts that I've downloaded off of Teachers Pay Teachers to see which ones I like the best for readability and everything in my classroom. So I love that Cricut can import all of these fonts so you have them right at your fingertips and you can kind of play around with them to see which ones will look best in your classroom before you begin your project. After playing around with a couple of the fonts, which was super easy to do thanks to Cricut Design Space, I'm going to separate my words just because I know that the bulletin board is 7 feet long, so each word I want to be like 3.5 feet or a little smaller. Now since these words do have many different letters in them, science has a lot and math has a little, I'm going to make sure the science one is about 3 feet long, and then the math one will just be the same size text as that. So if you see, I resized my science to 36 inches wide, and then I just copied it so that I have the text the same size, and then I typed math in it. So I love how easy it is to resize. I can zoom out and I can see with the grid lines exactly how long they are. And now that I've got that easily typed out, I'm going to go ahead and separate the letters so they will each fit on a different sheet of paper, and click the Make It button in the top right corner. Now I'm using the Cricut Explore Air 3, which actually has an option to use without a mat or on a mat because there's smart vinyl now, but I'm using with a mat since I don't have a roll of vinyl. I'm just using pieces of cardstock. So I go over to the left and resize my material to be 8.5 by 11, and that just adjusts all the mats so that my letters won't cut outside of my material. So I click continue, and here's what's super awesome is you can browse all of these materials that you can cut on the Cricut. So I just typed in cardstock. There's tons of different types of cardstock, and I clicked heavy cardstock because I knew mine was really thick and it was laminated, and so I went under pressure and hit more pressure just to make sure that it would cut through, and it actually goes and cuts twice to make sure that it cuts all the way through. So here is my beautiful Cricut. Is it not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life? It's matte and a pretty like mint color, and I love it. So you just plug one side into the wall and one side into your computer, which is super easy. And Cricut Design Space is super user friendly, and there's also a lot of help forums on Cricut's website if you need help with that. So I am just turning it on and going to get my materials so that I can put my paper on my Cricut mat and get it loaded in the Cricut to start my project. So now that I've got my laminated paper on there, I'm going to put it in my Cricut and hit the load button, and it'll measure your mat to make sure that you have enough material on there and it's not gonna cut with an error or anything. And so you can see Cricut Design Space up there on the left of what it's showing. I don't know about y'all, but I hate having to hand cut out my bulletin board letters or having to print black ink on paper and cut them out, but this makes it super easy to have whatever font I want, and it goes super quickly. So here is just kind of like a live feed of it cutting out my first letter. And then after it goes over there twice, it just easily comes right off. And since this is such a thick piece of paper that's laminated, it kind of just like cracks off, which is perfect. It's perfectly perforated and comes off the mat super easy. So as you can see, there's my perfectly cut out in, and there was no hard labor on my end. And so some of the letters, since they're smaller, can both fit on a sheet. So I had an I and a T on that one, and I'm just going to keep continuing cutting them out until I have all the letters of science and math that I need. And this is actually live speed. This isn't sped up or anything, so this is how fast the Cricut cuts out your letters and makes it super easy to decorate your classroom. So one last thing I like to do before I'm done is just to throw those guys back through the laminator just to make sure all the ends are closed up. They're going to be on a bulletin board, so they're not really going to get any wear and tear, but just to make sure they don't peel or anything, I'm going to throw those back through the laminator since the paper is so thick. And then the best part of all, I went into my classroom. I took down these All About Me things that we made the first week of school so that I could hang up my new math and science letters on my bulletin board. And pro tip, if you're hanging up black letters, color black Sharpie over your staples on the back and it'll be good to go. So there are my beautiful letters, super, super cute. So the next project I'm gonna do is to make a little canvas banner for my classroom. So to make sure I had the right size, I imported these shapes just from Cricut Design Space since it is like a pendant banner type shape, and I measured them out and welded them together so it could kind of give me guidelines for how big my text could be. So I couldn't really think of the best saying to do, but I just thought I'd do something general. So I did 5th grade best grade because I do teach 5th grade and I like to give the 5th graders a lot of pride that they're in the best grade and that they're having all these leadership roles in our school. So I thought this could help encourage them. And so I'm just typing out 5th grade best grade in the same font that I used for my other letters, and I'm just duplicating it and typing in the new font for each little section, and then you can go in and change the color so that you can see what it'll actually look like. I resized it a little bit and attached all of them so that they would keep their spacing when I cut them out. And I'm going to put my HTV on a mat again, but I'm going to make sure that I mirror it because that's super important. And then I chose iron on and it was time to get started. So I put my little 12 by 12 HTV little piece on a mat. I used the strong grip mat, but any mat works. And I go ahead and load it in my Cricut, and it's going to do the same thing where it measures the mat and then it cuts it out in like less than 30 seconds, which is awesome. Once it is done cutting out, I just cut off the excess and I go ahead and weed out the vinyl. Now you'll notice that it's upside down, but that's what you have to do with heat transfer vinyl so that it can iron on to the material. So I got out my Cricut Easy Press, which is amazing. I love it so much. It's the perfect little on-the-go handheld heat press for when you want to do projects and you don't want to have a huge heat press on your table. So I turned it on and it was already on the correct settings, 350 degrees for 30 seconds, and it came with this easy press mat so that I don't damage my tabletops or anything when I'm ironing on. It was super nice and super durable, and I'm so glad to have one of these now because I haven't had one before when I've used my easy press. So as you can see, it's heating up. It takes like less than 5 minutes to heat up, and once it was ready, I just put down my banner so that I could kind of iron it out a little bit before I put on my vinyl. And so I didn't hit the start button or anything since it is already warm. And thankfully it has this little holding case on my table so it doesn't damage my desk. And I just picked up my vinyl that I cut out and I put it the correct way down. And it just takes 30 seconds at 350 degrees for this vinyl to be able to attach to my banner. So once I put my easy press right where it needs to go, I can just hit start and it'll count down for me and give me a little beep when it's ready. So after 30 seconds, you've got this really cute banner that you can hang in your classroom. And I hope you guys got some ideas of Cricut projects you can do in your classroom. Check the description for more information, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!